Unfortunately, as DeMonze tweeted, because he had taken a nap, I just woke up to racism, was I think the tweet.
Yeah.
There was the reaction to the end of the game. So I will set the scene quickly for you. Caitlin Clark is an awesome ball player and a legit trash talker. If we're just going to do the white comparison, a la Larry Bird. Talks as much trash as anybody and backs it up. She talked trash to that Van Lith girl in the Elite Eight, did the "you can't see me" to her in the against South Carolina. Dared the girl to shoot. Told the Van Lith girl, shut up, you're down 15, the whole nine. Angel Reese at the end of the game does the "you can't see me" to Caitlin Clark, does the Steph Curry, points at a ring finger, and people get very, very mad. Before I get to my thoughts or DeMonze's thoughts, public service announcement here to our wonderful listeners, viewers. We're going to talk about this, and race is going to be a component of it. And if the discussion of race makes your head pop off like a cartoon mouse, pause the show and come back to us in a few minutes. If you're open to having listening to an open discussion, stick with us. DeMonze, why did you tweet, "I woke up to racism"?
So obviously I did take a nap during the game like an idiot, and all I did was I woke up and I saw the clip of Angel Reese doing the same exact thing that Caitlin Clark did, and everybody hated it. Like in the words like the what was it? Worthless or classless.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know, man. And once I looked at the game and saw what actually happened, it wasn't the exact same thing.
Correct.
Angel Reese did kind of follow her around, made it a big deal. Wasn't the same thing, but definitely what she did was not warranted for the feedback that she got. Like the things that they were saying about this college female athlete was just crazy. Like it's just not the.
So why did you, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, and because I've talked about this on TV, I agree with you on, well, I haven't heard you talk about it entirely, so I don't know if I totally agree with you,
Right.
But you know where I stand on this. Why did you call it racism?
Because nobody said anything when Caitlin Clark did it. Nobody had a problem with it.
So here's the deal. And this is why I probably shouldn't. I probably shouldn't do that little public service announcement. We're going to talk about race, tune out.
Yes.
Because people shouldn't tune out. Because we've got to be able to have honest discussions about this. And that Iowa team is an essentially all-white team. And that South Carolina team, that was the defending national champions, that was undefeated, was essentially an all-black team. Same with the LSU team. The moment you have in sports an all-white team against an all-black team, there's a racial component to how the game is covered, to how the game is discussed, to how the game is viewed. And
it seemed like they wanted to say something else, man.
What do you mean?
Like in the comments and the quotes, like that guy from Barstool.
Oh, that guy.
It just seemed like they
he's
want to
got
say so much more.
Of course, and he's got a long bad history. And that's a separate thing entirely almost. But let me get back to just even pre-taunt, okay? The dynamics here. There is a knee-jerk reaction in media to treating the white athlete like an unathletic underdog. This is not, by the way, my opinion. There have been university studies that have documented all of the commentary about draft prospects in the NFL and the adjectives we use to describe them. And white athletes consistently get described by earned attributes, smart, hardworking, those types of things. Black athletes get described by given attributes, talented, athletic, God-given abilities. There is an undercurrent, and that is, again, that's not my opinion. That is documented, studied fact that we have a long history of that. And you see it all the time in sports. A great white athlete gets called, faster than you'd think, sneaky athletic, coach on the floor, which means smart.
Sneaky athletics, the funny one.
You hear it all the time. I'll take one of the best athletes of the last 20 years. One of the most physically imposing freaks we've ever seen. J.J. Watt, they tried to turn into an overachieving underdog. J.J. Watt, the dude had 60 sacks in 3 seasons. Well, he had 3 separate 20-sack seasons in a 4-year stretch. Won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times. His brother is a freak Defensive Player of the Year. His younger brother's a fullback. My guess is they got some good athletic genes in that family. Produced 3 NFL players, 2 of which are potential Hall of Famers, one of which is no doubt Hall of Famer. Still, though, because he's white, you're described with, again, earned attributes. So how does this impact the LSU, South Carolina, or the Iowa, South Carolina, the Iowa LSU game? There's an element of we allow and encourage Caitlin Clark's swaggery nature in a way we normally wouldn't, because we are conditioned to look at her as the underdog. People, and by the way, I'll get real complicated, kind of real galaxy brain here. A similar thing happened with Steph Curry. And he's black, but he's not big and physically imposing. He's also light-skinned, and he was considered this guy of, and I know for a fact, this really, really rubbed LeBron the wrong way, that Steph was considered the underdog story. When it's like, hold on. You mean the guy whose dad played in the NBA? The guy who, why? Because he went to Davidson? He's an underdog? I was damn near homeless growing up. Grew up with one parent who dealt with her own struggles, but because I'm big and imposing, you know what I mean? My ride here, and again, that it's earned attributes versus given attributes. Oh, he had to work for his skill. I was just born with mine. Give me a break. Right. You see that in sports a lot, particularly when you have cross-race comparisons. So, America typically doesn't like arrogance. We like our athletes. We prefer false humility to honest arrogance. We prefer athletes who we know they're awesome, to just thank God, thank their teammates. Oh, wow, amazing to be here. We don't mind it quite as much when it's a white athlete, because subconsciously or consciously, many of us feel like, wow, they are the underdog. Because you just naturally think they're in a rougher spot. So that's why Caitlin Clark didn't catch shit for all the trash talking. But the moment it is not only a black woman doing it, a bigger, more physically imposing black woman, and she's doing it to a white girl, oh boy, folks get upset. Because you cannot convince me, if that were South Carolina there instead of Iowa, and Angel Reese did that. So here's the thing. Everyone's talking about this from the perspective of just you got mad when a black girl did it, not when a white girl did it. I'm here to tell you it is deeper than that. Because if South Carolina was in that game, not Iowa, and Angel Reese had done it to Aaliyah Boston, people would not have been as mad. It was not just that it was a black girl doing it. It was that it was a black girl doing it to a white girl. And people reacted like she was bullying. And nobody likes bullying. And I'm here to tell you, you know who didn't think she was getting bullied? Caitlin Clark. Because Caitlin Clark knows, man, I'm better than you. You got me. But I'm not worried. We are athletes. We are two of the best in the world at what we do. We're both first-team All-Americans. I don't need anyone protecting me. I don't need anyone pearl clutching for me. But the public does bad with that. I'm going to say one other thing where the media does bad. We probably don't need to amplify the as much as we do. Now, I quote tweeted someone, but I quote tweeted another media member, guy that covers baseball for a living, who said Caitlin Clark's parents at least know they raised her right. That bothered me. Right. Like, give me a break. She was doing the exact, again, like you said, not the exact same thing.
Right. One of the less unhinged takes, though.
Yes.
Like
listen, Keith Olbermann called her an a-hole, I think. Portnoy, who's out of his mind on a lot of stuff, was way out of line, and we all know it. So it wasn't a straw man. It wasn't, oh, this is just folks with 17 followers trying to inflame a race war. It was actual influential people being a part of it. But it was not the volume that probably a lot of us treated it as, to where it was the story, but then becomes self-fulfilling. Because then Angel's asked about it. She talks about seeing it on Twitter. It becomes you know what I mean? Then it becomes a story.
The timing of it is also crazy, though, how Caitlin Clark, it's not like this is something that happened last year. Like, no. I don't even see how people could take to Twitter with the way that they were talking, given that Caitlin Clark did that same thing like 6 days ago.
6 days ago, and evidently, I didn't see it, but did it at one point to her own bench, different against South Carolina. Forget against Louisville 6 days ago. Go ahead, sorry.
No, that was it. It's just...
No, it was right there, and it's who we were celebrating. There's a lot of odd dynamics with women's college basketball so Paige Buchers, I might have mispronounced her last name wrong, I apologize, who was the best player in the sport, plays for UConn, blew out her knee, but unbelievable from the moment she got there. She won a major award last year, and at her speech, she said, this is a sport carried by black women that white women tend to usually get these awards. And she was trying to say we need to make sure we shine a light on the great black female players as well. So it's complex in this regard. If you were to get, so it is women's basketball, not as much at the collegiate level as men's basketball, but if you were to get, it is still a majority black sport. But the greatest players of all time are disproportionately white. So forget Caitlin Clark and Paige. Breanna Stewart might be the best ever. She's white. Diana Taurasi once upon a time was considered one of the very best ever. White. Sue Bird might be the best ever. White. Now you have Caitlin Clark. You have Paige. All that, right? Now that's not to disregard Cheryl Miller or Cheryl Swoops or Lisa Leslie or Candace Parker, but it is... the 10 best players is a wider group than just the general kind of population of players. So why is that? That's a more complicated topic. But there is a level of simmering, animosity is the wrong word, but tension within the sport about who gets celebrated, who doesn't. If we're both A-plus players, so everybody now knows Caitlin Clark's name, that's in large part because she had one of the greatest tournaments ever. Aaliyah Boston won a national championship last year. Team was undefeated this year. She also does not look like Caitlin Clark, does not play like Caitlin Clark. There's a lot of factors here, right? And so my point is, it is never as simple as I think people try to make it out to be, even though this one at its base level was very simple. People got angry at the black girl, furious with the black girl for doing something very similar to what people celebrated the white girl for doing. It was, go ahead.
Also, like, what's up with like the level of anger? Like, I just feel like some people's level of anger with certain things is just unacceptable, bro. Like,
Well,
you don't have to be that angry about it, to call somebody out of their name. It's not like it was in front of the sport. It's not like she dragged it.
No, I two answers there. One is, I think social media inflames everything and people are on a 10 when they could be on a 5. I think the other one is this. There are a lot of people very angry about racial dynamics in this country. And there are people of all colors and creeds angry about it. There are white people who think the country is being stolen from them as if it was rightful claim of white people. And there are black people who feel like we are going in the wrong direction on very important racial justice topics. So when race comes into it, knowingly or unknowingly, people run hot, man. They run really hot. And the people they're talking about stop being people and start being symbols for what they're mad at. And they start being pawns in their bigger game of, you know what I mean, taking my country back, whatever it is. And that's, I think, what happened.
Hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button to get more from the show, and make sure to click the bell to get notified every time new content drops. Check out full episodes of What's Right wherever you get your podcasts, or just click the link in the description below.